Have you ever tried a brand before and then you think that you all know this brand and then you don't really get any interested again in this brand, just like what I did? But and then you tried one of their products and then it opens your eye, and then you think, whoa, it sounds much different than I thought. I guess I'm truly have misunderstand this brand, and that's actually what happened to me when I tried this CCA NRA. First of all, thank you for KeepHifi for providing me with this review unit, and I have to tell you that actually I have tried and reviewed some of their CCA products like the CCA C4 and then CCA C12 and the CCA C10 Pro, which I still have until today. And honestly speaking, I'm not a really fan of their kind of tuning because it tends towards this fish, you know, typical hi-fi fish-shaped-ish kind of sound. And then, like I said, when they sent me this CCA NRA, what I think the first that, oh, it's another CCA, oh, it's another hi-fi, oh, it's another fish-shaped cheap products. But when I tried them for the first time and then I tried them and I tried to hear them every day, they proved me wrong. It sounds really great at this price point, and I can't help but I could wear them for hours and really enjoy it, even though I have some of the much more pricier IMs. That just show me that this IM could be something, and this IM is quite special. Okay, and welcome to Aftersound Review, and this is my review for CCA NRA. And just like usual, I will review based on the build, fit, frequency response, sound, and comparison. The build quality is actually really similar to just the same KZ, or if you have some KZ in your hands and CCA, they're just about the same. It's all using plasticky material. It doesn't feel heavy or anything like that, and even the nozzle is plastic. And then the, I don't know, the ear tips is quite unique. Maybe this is their new kind of KZ type of ear tips. It feels rather kind of square. You see at this angle, it feels kind of square instead of the usual mushroom or umbrella shaped tips. And for me, it works actually. And then it's using just like another usual KZ CCA, the QDC Type C connectors, 2-pin connectors. And actually I kind of like this kind of cable that they always bring, because it's, for me, it's more flexible compared to their last products. This is the CCA C10 and this is the KZ ZSN Pro X. For me, this type of cable somehow feels more durable and not gonna stiff in a long time. I have no problem with the ergonomics. It just simply fit me really good. If you are familiar with those kind of CCA or KZ types of shell and housing, this is exactly the same, and for me it just works for my ears. For the frequency response of this CCA NRA, I could simply say that there are still somehow kind of V-shaped-ish signature KZ CCA V-shaped-ish, but it's more tame and it's much more controlled for me. As you can see, there's still that lower mid-range to mid-bass hump around this part, and then gain upper mid bump around 2K and 5K in the treble area, and after that it's resonance peak. But this is what I want to show you. When I compare them with the EDX, ZSN Pro X or the ZS10 Pro, all of them has actually similar bump in the frequency response. You can see it here, the bump and the peaks are actually quite similar, but the CCA NRA is the least V-shape of them all. It's here at the bottom. And I'm not gonna lie that I actually don't really prefer this kind of V-shape, is KZ CCA kind of V-shape, but the CCA NRA, I should say that I quite enjoy them. And when I compare them again with the quite well-known, the Tanjim Tanya, the Harmon-ish IM at low price point, you could see that Tanya has bigger bass around this part and also more mid-range bump around 3K, but after that it's more rolled off in the treble area, giving the CCA NRA more V-shaped response and more energetic feeling. This CCA NRA is definitely my favorite amongst all of the CCA and KZ that I've ever heard. It still has that kind of somehow a little bit of V-shaped-ish thing going on in the sound, in the tonality of this IM. You still hear that punchy bass, you still hear that male vocals that it sounds quite recessed, you still hear that treble being a little bit pushed. But this one is the least V-shape of the all KZ and CCA that I've ever heard, and I must say that I actually really enjoy it. The bass is quite punchy and big and fast. It's really quite a fast bass, and I'm quite surprised because at this price range I don't hear a lot of IMs that could give this such a control in the bass area. I know it's not really deep, it's not really a rumbling, it's not really a satisfying bass head kind of bass punch, but the bass is really well controlled, and you still get the satisfying bass even though you hear some pop music, you hear some EDMs. The bass is not really punchy, it's not really big, it's not really thick, but for me that punch and also that control is really well satisfying, especially when I hear rock music. It could definitely deliver a fast-paced bass. Kinda hard to say. And the mid-range for me, it's a little bit of mixed bag here, because the problem is in this price point we have Tanjim Tanya or maybe this blon bl03 that actually are my favorite when it comes to vocal. I can't help but feel that CCA NRA, even though it's not really bright and harsh sounding, but it's still on a thin area. It feels quite lean, so when I hear music from like the Il Divo, I feel that the vocal is not really thick as I'd like to, and it's quite a bit recessed compared to the female vocal. And the female vocal itself, when I hear Joyce Chu or Ariana Grande or Olivia Ong, I still feel that the vocal is not the main big point, it's not the main good point about the CCA NRA, because it's sometimes almost going into that almost sibilance territory. And when I hear some rock music like One OK Rock, I feel that there's some harshness going on around the vocal part, but it never goes into this annoying picky sibilance territory. So I could still enjoy that. But for me, the really one thing that I really love about this IM is the treble. I don't say that the treble is super sparkling or really totally pushed and it's really picky. No, the control and also the speed, the transient speed and the resolution of the treble is really amazing at this price point. I still hear that kind of a little bit energetic treble, but the control and also detail is really good. And I should say, you maybe not hear that at first. You need to try some treble focused music, like for example the Lindsey Sterling music. You hear that violin really, it's just really dancing in my head. The treble, it's really detailed and fast. You hear that violin is going fast paced and really well controlled. But yeah, there's a little bit of minus here. It's really well controlled, it's really detailed. You hear cymbals, it's fast, and it's just simply really good detail on the treble area. But the timbre, especially when you hear cymbal crest, I feel that there's a little plasticky timbre going on around this IM. I don't feel it's really natural, but the detail is there, I should tell you that. And that the technicality is not bad either. I should say that the soundstage is not really big, but I don't find it really intimate either. But the detail and also the resolution level of this IM might be one of the best, especially when I compare them with the blon or the Tanjim Tanya. This CCA NRA is definitely almost a level above them. It just really feels really detailed when you hear complex music, like for orchestral music or for soundtrack music that comes with a lot of instruments going on. I feel that the CCA NRA is simply delivering more information from the music, from the soundtrack itself compared to the likes of the Blon, bl03 or the 10 c10. It's a really good IM, but personally I enjoy it more on the rock and metal tracks, or maybe some instrument songs and also orchestral music compared to the usual EDM or pop music. And when it comes to comparison, I should say that I will compare them with the legendary Blon bl03 that I found. Still, maybe one of the best that you can find in this price bracket if you are looking for a natural and smooth vocal. I can't help that when I hear vocal, the human vocal, the timbre, the natural feeling, I still get that better in this Blon bl03. When I hear vocal from Olivia Ong, when I hear vocal from Joyce too, it just feels just more natural to my ears. But the Blon bl03 has, it doesn't really excel in the technicality level, the bass, even though again I feel that the bass is more natural, but the speed is much slower compared to the CCA NRA, and also the treble is much more rolled off and less detailed, and then the resolution level is also definitely below the CCA NRA. And comparing them with this KeepHifi Pro X, which is I don't know, in my community, some of the people are actually like this KeepHifi Pro X for metal music, but for me, even though the CCA NRA is more tame in the treble area, the detail and also the information that I get from the, from metal and rock music, I definitely enjoy the CCA NRA much better than the ZSN Pro X. In my place, they don't really different in the price point, which is for me saying that the CCA NRA is definitely a league ahead of this KeepHifi Pro. If you have money, I cannot recommend this IM simply by the CCA NRA. It's just giving you better treble response, better vocal balance, and also better speed in the bass area. And comparing them with the well-known CCA C10, for me, the CCA C10 will sound still more V-shaped and somehow more peaky compared to this CCA NRA. Of course, yes, the bass is more punchy, it's more boomy, a little bit more rumble in the sub-bass area. For me, this if you're a bass hit, maybe you will still like the CCA C10 better, but that peakiness and that feels of more V-shaped sounding music is still coming from the CCA NRA, and I feel somehow the CCA NRA is just simply much more balanced in all of the songs that I've played, better than this CCA C10. I should give a little bit better points to the CCA C10 when it comes to separation. Maybe it thanks to its more driver counts, but nevertheless for me the tuning is where the things gets matter the most. And the CCA NRA is simply giving you better overall all-rounder presentation. Okay, so we've come to the conclusion, which I'm very surprised because how much I like this cheap products from CCA. It's really surprising for me to say that. Okay, but I must admit that I really enjoy them. Okay, let's talk about the pros first. This IM looks cool and it feels like the build, yeah, even though it's like KZ or CCA in a normal way, for me it just works. And then when we are talking about the sound of it, it's still quiet, somehow a mild V-shape for me, but it's much more well controlled compared to its brothers. I mean, the bass is, even though it's punchy, but I can feel the sub bass and the speed here. And then the vocal, even though again it's a little bit on the thinner side, but it's quite clear, and I don't found any sibilance at all in this IM. And then the treble is maybe kind of the treble at this price point, for me it couldn't get any better because it's quite extended, it's still smooth but retaining a lot of details. At this price point it's quite really, again, it's surprising for me. But yes, there are some cons which for me I found in the vocal. When you hear some thick male vocals like Il Divo, Josh Groban, or Michael Bublé, for me this IM couldn't give that much of the male thickness in their midsection, in their vocals, and then I can still definitely hear some plasticky timbre, especially when I hear percussion, when I hear cymbal, when I hear some instruments. This kind of timbre, it's always there. It feels like a plasticky BA kind of sound, but yeah, it's just simply there. So maybe it won't be quite appealing if you love instruments to hear in this IM. But nevertheless, again, it is really cheap, and maybe it's quite subjective because I'm still excited from this IM. But at this price point, it's much more, for me, it's more exciting to hear. It's more engaging for me to hear the CCA NRA compared to the blon, bl03, Tens Jim Tanya, or Moondrop Quarks, which are all excellent IMs. But for me, personally, right now, I would definitely pick this CCA NRA compared to all of them. Okay, I think that's all. And if you have any question, please write down in the comment below, and see you next time. Bye bye.